Welcome, fellow ghouls. Welcome to the Kickin'it Old School Halloween special. Today we have a special guest. Oh, we got Freddy. How you doing, Freddy?
Second.
Sorry, there we go. We have special guest, Glenn Baisley here with us today. Glenn, why don't you introduce yourself and a little bit what you do for a living?
I freelance on the side. I've been doing video production for a number of years. These days, you probably see my work if you're a horror fan. I do everything from like the 70s to 90s documentary horror featurettes. Probably one of the biggest ones I've worked on to date was in the Friday the 13th box set. Had a couple of different featurettes in it. So we do locations featurettes where we revisit where movies were shot and show then and now. We'll do interviews. We'll do all kinds of different documentaries. But we've won a number of awards for everything from documentaries for B movies like Spookies to various different projects we've been nominated, won awards for stuff like documentaries about Phantom of the Opera. My partner and myself, and I say Michael Gingle. So if any Fangoria magazine fans or Rue Ward fans out there, they'll probably know that name. He's been editor for 30 plus years for those magazines. And then I've also directed some of my own movies that you can find still floating out there in the past that we're hoping one of these days to bring back out and republish. But fun stuff. And then in my spare time every now and then, helping Glenn out.
He does. He is the director and producer of the Build a Cage video, and I really thank you for that.
We have to do another one of these days.
We
I was
do.
actually thinking about it the other day. I wish there would have been enough time this year to do another Halloween one, because when it popped up my Facebook feed, I'm like, wow, it's been a year since we did that video.
It has been a year, and in fact, today is the 3-year Glenn's anniversary. Been seeing Jen for 3 years today, and look how I turned out. I turned out great.
You haven't aged a year.
So, hey, you know what? I just noticed Snake Plissken's Run is not in the chat, and I finally watched Warcraft. I watched Warcraft.
You lie.
I watched it, and you know what? I hate you all for making me watch it. It's left on a cliffhanger, and they're not going to make another one, are they?
No.
No. So I watched this movie. I watched the whole thing happen. I watched the guy troll die, or whatever he is, and his wife dies. They have the Avatar baby, Moses, going down the water. People find them, and that's it. That's how you guys leave me with watching Warcraft.
Microsoft might make another.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Never say never. Now that they've partnered up, they may redo it and redo it right. I thought the Halo series, wasn't gospel to the game in some regard, but I thought it was fun.
Never say never. I enjoyed it. You had live action people, there was a lot of CGI in there with the what were they called? They weren't trolls. What were they?
It's been a while since I've seen that.
And then there was
the Horde.
The Horde. The whole gang of them. They have different races in between. So.
Right. So they're stealing like the souls. Perfect for today. Stealing the souls to open up that gate. So they steal souls, open the gate. A lot of witchery, a lot of Warcraft, and I'm left on a goddamn cliffhanger. That sucks. You guys did me dirty. You did me dirty.
The whole series is a cliffhanger. The whole thing.
That's like when you invest a lot of time into a TV show and then you find out before like the last 3 episodes or something that it's canceled, and it's like, do you invest the rest of the time to watch it knowing it's never going to conclude? Or, it's like...
And also, I got to say, my son, I got him into Stranger Things. Right. So he's watching Stranger Things. And Vecma, they did the whole last season about Vecma. I kept telling Cole it was a ripoff of Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street. And I finally got him to watch it yesterday, and it was hysterical watching him go, wait, they did this, and Stranger, wait, this. I said, yeah, you see? They ripped off a Nightmare on Elm Street, and of course now he sees it. So we're going to try and watch Dream Warriors tonight, because A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 sucked, so we're going to skip that. We're going to go from 1 to 3.
What? If you get past all the
I gotta
gore
hear
kind of
this.
like sadomasochistic sort of subtext, because it's still a darker Freddy. It's before.
It's so dark, you can't see what's happening on the screen. Everything's practically pitch black.
Here's the problem I have with 3. And don't get me wrong, because I do love
Not 3. 3 was good. Don't be good. I'm talking about 2.
No, I know, but I'm saying, but here's the issue I have with 3, before, and why I like 2 in some regards better than 3. Is because when you get to 3, that now became, everything after that was all special effects and all comedy, and it wasn't the darker Freddy starting with 3 and after. You got, darker Freddy was gone, and it became all just like punchlines. So it's like, in some ways, 3 was the downfall of the character. But I do like 3.
I don't know. I know Freddy personally, obviously. We've been talking a few minutes ago by the flame pit over here. I don't know if I completely agree with you on that, Glenn. Steven, what do you think? Let's hear your thoughts.
I'm just getting the blood to go back to my head after being under that mask for 5 minutes. So I'm kind of like still, and I got these red marks on my forehead now. I don't know what the hell happened there. This is all made in China. All these chemicals out of my forehead. What the hell's up with that? Anyways, I like Dream Warriors. I think it's the better of the whole gang.
There we go.
Well, the first one's the best.
And the soundtrack was really good by Dawkins.
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
Yep.
what can you not like about it?
I will
After that,
give
I
you
have to
this.
agree with you. It's all punchlines after that.
I will give you this though. One of the best lines is in Dream Warriors. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, no, I like Dream Warriors. That's my favorite one. The first one, you watch it now, it's laughable. But there's
Well, the first one scared the hell out of me when I saw
The
that.
first one is laughable now, but there's a bunch of stars in there that I had no idea
Johnny Depp.
that they were all in there. There was a few of them. There's some Johnny Depp and a few other ones. It was like, wow, pretty cool stuff. So
Yeah, I remember seeing that the first time, and the 2 scenes that got me that kind of freaked me out, and I had a nightmare about, no pun intended, was the body bag scene. That was probably one of the biggest scenes. It just kind of freaked me out, where the body bag is dragging itself and kind of floating through the hall. In the original one, but yeah, I didn't find anything after part 1 really scary in any of those movies.
No, it did become a little bit comical.
Yeah. Especially towards you got to the end. Although I think the best one after Dream Warriors is A New Nightmare, because it reinvented itself. That one I really like.
I stopped watching after that. I was like,
Yeah, most of them were
him in a joke,
pretty bad in between.
kind of like Friday the 13th. After the
Yeah.
third one or whatever, you're like, what are you guys doing? So they, they just sort of drove it into the ground, in my opinion. That's what I call it. They just sort of...
you gotta continue the lineage. It's a cash cow. Gotta keep the cash cow going.
Sure. Yeah, but after the writing was getting really bad there after.
You know what's scarier, however, than all these horror pictures? You know what's scarier? It's paying full price for an arcade one-up product. That's scary. Really
Or
scary.
watching the new Star Wars movies.
There are new Star Wars movies. Episode 6 is
They
Orange
give you
Never
new respect
Resisted.
for the prequels.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then basically there's the video games that you were talking about before the show. So the Friday the 13th game that we talked about, I think, last week. So that's pretty cool.
Which is a shame that that's dead in the water now.
Well, you can get it on sale, which is great.
You can, and they're officially, up until December. As of December, they've announced you will no longer be able to purchase it. You'll be able to maybe find a physical copy, but digital copies will no longer be sold. I'm not clear as to whether or not
It's a
you
licensing
could do peer-to-peer
thing.
playing. Well, yeah, it's because the licensing. Well, the company originally did it, sold it off to another company because all the rights were tied up and they couldn't do new content. So they sold it off to another company that could continue to do bug fixes and make money off of it, but it only went so far. And officially, at the end of this year, it's dead. But I don't know if you'll still be able to at least play peer-to-peer, or if that's completely it. But I played, I mean, since then, I mean, the other games are out there. I played the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, which is, it's intense. I think they still have to work out some of the balancing issues in the game. But they did nail the sound aesthetic, and the visuals are fantastic, and it really nailed, in terms of like the set designs and things like that, the pieces. They had Kane Hodder, who played Jason in the latter Friday the 13th model, Leatherface for the game. And then, of course, there's the Evil Dead game that's out there, too, which feels like it's kind of the audience for that quickly died. It's another one they nailed the aesthetic on, but it just, I don't know, failed to kind of capture my attention.
Hey, I'm going to step away for a little bit. I'm going to check this forehead of mine that got those red marks. I have no idea how they got there, so I'll be right back. You guys keep going. I'll be right back.
Breaking out from a latex allergy.
Probably. I don't know.
So, Glenn. Tell me a little bit more and tell our viewers a little bit more about some of the, I guess, the movies you actually worked on. I know you did have some documentaries you've done as well. But talk about, because I've been to your house, and you have a lot of classic horror memorabilia. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of classic, man, my favorite era is without a doubt like the 70s and 80s stuff. I mean, the stuff that you and I grew up. I mean, not to date myself. I'm in my early 50s, but yeah, I mean, you look at the height of the era, your Friday the 13th movie, all that stuff from that typical Halloween. And for me, the reason why I really like it is some of the stuff focused more on the scares rather than the blood. Like you look, some movies today, I think, are too blood centric. I mean, you look at the Saw movies. I like the first one, but it's all about the gore and less about the story. Although the Saw X was actually surprisingly decent. But memorabilia-wise, yeah, I mean, I've got fan of stuff like I've got the Zuni Fetish doll with Karen Black. It's the Trilogy of Terror. It was a TV movie back in the day in the 70s. I have an original bootleg disc for Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, signed by the actress, because you couldn't get the disc; it wasn't on print. I'm all about physical media, especially now that Best Buy is selling out, not doing physical media anymore. They're at the end of the year.
Yeah,
so that's the kind of stuff.
That's scary. To me, that's scary. The death of physical media is scary.
Yeah. Best Buy has announced that online and in store, brick and mortar stores, they will not be carrying any physical media at all at the end of the year. There's been rumors that Walmart's trying to buy up the lot and become the single source in brick and mortar. But, I mean, the biggest revenue, Walmart and Amazon make up the lion's share for physical media sales. And so it's like for, if Walmart backs out, then that'll really be the final nail in the coffin for physical media.
I don't understand what the big deal with physical media is, because the discs now don't actually have the content on them. It's just
that's not any better.
Download it.
No, we agree.
All there's on there.
That's not any better, but the actual days of when data was on the disc, that's what I want.
That was the previous generation of consoles. Xbox 360, PS3, and the Wii U were the last of that. Everybody else is just, well, no, actually Nintendo on the Switch is actually on the cartridge, but far and free between after that.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of physical media, and I'm a big fan of the older movies, because the thing is, a lot of these older movies, there's smaller labels out there. Like I do a lot of work for Vinegar Syndrome, that does a lot of grindhouse style movies, blaxploitation movies, that kind of stuff. Severn Films, Kino Lorber, Arrow Video. So there's a bunch of different companies out there that celebrate those movies that we grew up with, like the classic horrors. Before, I mean, you'll meet kids nowadays like there was movies before like the earlier Halloweens or the remake of Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. They don't know it, but all these great movies that a lot of people don't know about, that the companies now aren't celebrating as much. And what's great about these physical media discs from these smaller labels is they are putting the content, the extras, where you learn about how the movies were made, or you learn about, all these different things. Shudder is a great streaming service because they're doing documentaries about how these movies made, the kind of extras that used to be on the physical media, you're not seeing on these tentpole titles any longer. And that's why if you're a fan of these things, you have to support physical media by buying it. It is convenient to get digital media, but it's the death knell. You know, it's the same thing. Streaming is killing theaters. You know, I try and go out as much as possible almost every weekend or every other weekend to see a movie to support theaters, because before you know it, you won't see theaters anymore. You know, during COVID,
I'm surprised
how many theaters
they're
died?
still there now.
Yeah.
I really am.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what the theater here does. You buy your tickets, they don't even check your tickets at the door. They just let you go in. There's not a
there's
ticket
nobody.
person. There's not a ticket person taking your ticket to
They
go
cut
in.
down
It's
on
like
staff.
it's like they don't even care. Yeah, go
Well,
see it for free. I've had
we-
people tell me that they've gone in for free.
They still check the tickets here, but what's annoying to me is when you buy your ticket, you need to pick your seat at the time of the ticket purchase. I don't know where I
Yeah.
want to sit. I go in, and then I find a spot when I go in. It's annoying.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 with the whole thing, is what it is.
See, I
I think
religiously
the-
always go towards the back because I was like, I don't want people sitting behind me talking, because that always almost happens every time I go to the movies. I get somebody who sits behind. So I try, and most people don't go to the back, and it's like usually I'll go to a matinee towards the back because then I'm less likely to have somebody whip out their cell phone in my face or somebody talking behind me.
Thank God you said cell phone.
God rest Pee Wee Herman.
Ew.
Well, I'm all bones now anyway. He just had his bone out for fun.
But getting back to what you said, yeah. So a lot of stuff I do is the content, you know, the extras for these discs that, you know, that show how the movies were made, interviews about people that have made the movies, you know, visiting locations for movies. So, you know, I just did. It's coming actually out. I think it's shipping right now through Vinegar Syndrome. An '80s slasher movie called Mother's Day. It's you know, it's kind of like a sex revenge movie slasher that we went and we did the making. You know, we did all the locations where it was shot. You know, because that movie was shot in New Jersey. A lot of these movies that I do are shot like in the tri-state area. So if there's something that's on the tri-state area, they usually call me to cover it. And then we did, you know, a number of different interviews I worked on with Mike Ingold to shoot the different interviews for people that made the movies too. That's one that back in the day was published and put out by Troma. It wasn't a Troma movie per se, although Charles Kaufman, Lloyd Kaufman's brother, was the director of it. So it's not as hardcore as, you know, as a movie like Last House on the Left or I Spit on Your Grave. It tries to poke a little humor in it, but the content's still a little strong, you know.
Well, I have one thing I want to. Oh, sorry, Stephen. Go ahead. Go ahead, Stephen. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying the horror film scene nowadays, it's hit and miss, and it's not like it used to be where, you know, it's laughable now in a sense. What they consider a horror movie, you know. I don't know if they're bringing woke into horror movies now, but I hope not. It's like,
Well,
that'd be a disaster.
You
Well,
say
I'm gonna pull
laughable.
I'm going to pull up a movie that, for me, was kind of a surprise hit. It's an older film. It's not ancient, but it's an earlier film. I want to see if you guys recognize it because I do enjoy this in my current form. Okay?
This Halloween, 6 strangers have been invited to a party. If they can stay up till dawn, they'll win $1 million each. The only
I have no idea
catch
what it is.
is that they'll have to live through the night.
Let the games begin.
It's in there.
My eyes sincere.
No idea, huh?
I think I got something.
Saw.
That looks very familiar. What year is that? Give me a clue.
Nope.
I think I know what that is. God, it looks like the Hellraiser remake, but I don't. Like pieces. Oh wait a minute. What the heck is that?
Are you doing
No,
this?
that's
No.
the same vibe. That yes.
It looks familiar, part of it, but
It does look familiar. Oh, the House on Haunted Hill remake. Oh God.
Yeah. So, did anyone in the chat see this film? The remake of The
I
House
saw
on
the
Haunted Hill?
original. I'm sure I've seen that, but it looks like one of those forgettable movies.
No, it's actually really good. It's
Yeah?
a good flick. Good flick.
God, I don't remember that one.
Now, Papa Brad is saying Aliens is the perfect movie. Isn't it? Aliens,
I love
Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Empire Strikes Back, all sequels that were very good, phenomenal.
Yes.
I can agree with that.
I don't know if I have a favorite horror film. I don't know if I have one.
Oh, Halloween's my favorite.
The original Halloween, right?
The original Halloween. That and Psycho are the reasons I became a filmmaker.
Well, I think that the original Halloween is kind of what really started Friday the 13th. And it did. And Freddy Krueger. And it did.
And all these spin-off holiday movies, April Fool's Day, Mother's Day, all of them. I mean, it started the whole trend. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't know,
Mother's
like-
Day that I worked on for the featurettes for it was actually shot at the same time as Friday the 13th on the opposite sides of the lake where they used for Crystal Lake, which I was like, that's something I didn't know about until I worked on it. So
Well, there's movies that are considered horror movies that I think are more comedies than horror movies. And, well, what Frighteners? That's supposed to be scary, but that's not scary.
No.
It's like,
A lot of
Did you
these
ever
movies,
see? Did you ever see a movie called The Munchies?
yes.
That
Yes.
was so bad. It makes Toxic Avenger that I was in look like a triple Oscar winner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was grabbed by the ghoulies and all that was up there along with the same gang.
Oh, here,
You have
wait,
the monkeys,
wait,
the ghoulies.
hold the phone. Hold the phone. Look who shows up now. Wait.
Pliskin's Run.
Pliskin.
The guy that's been booking you for
I
a
have
week
a
to watch
bone.
Warcraft.
I have a bone to pick for Pliskin's Run here. So, I did it. I watched the World of Warcraft only to find out it's left on a cliffhanger that it's probably never going to be resolved, Pliskin. What's up with that, man? I thought we were buddies. Jesus Christ. Unbelievable. Creepshow. First and
I
second
like
one,
the
they
Raft
were good.
story from
They
that.
were good.
Yeah.
The
The
Raft
Raft
This-
story is good.
That
that one.
cemetery was pretty good. I like
Jeepers Creepers
Jeepers
actually creeped
Creepers.
me out. It did creep me, I admit it. Jeepers Creepers did creep me out a little bit.
Although,
what?
if you're a Jeepers Creepers fan,
Elo.
don't watch Jeepers Creepers Reborn. That
No!
movie's horrible.
This is no. He loved munchies. What?
What planet?
What?
Pet Cemetery was pretty good. Not the last one they did, but the one in the 80s. That one was pretty good. I like that one. I'm not a big horror connoisseur.
Look,
so I'm
he's
kind of out
laughing
of
at my
element
misery.
here.
He's laughing at my misery.
I like Jeepers Creepers 3 because in the opening scene, there's one of the characters gets killed that was a lead actor in one of my movies, and the guy was a total asshat. So I just watched that scene and rewind over and over again. That was the best part of the movie.
Oh, here we absolute classic. Absolute classic.
Fantastic.
That when I saw it the first time, I was young. I think I was like 10 or 11. Tall man and that phantasm ball. Yeah, it freaked me out. It was pretty scary.
Yeah, I have a story to tell you about that.
Let's hear it.
For years, it was one of those things you're talking. My father was the reason, also another reason why I'm big into horror. I mean, I grew up. I used to watch Chiller Theater with him. For those who don't remember, it was the Chiller. It had the hand come up. It was WPIX back in the day. And so I used to watch all those classics. And, you know, there was a movie he was talking about years ago. There's this movie at the end, he goes, where it pulls somebody into a mirror and it's boys. So for years I looked for that. It was like the holy grail trying to find it until one day I discovered it at my local video store. And I became a big fan of that movie. So fast forward years later, and I'm in production on my second movie called The Tenement. And I'm down at one of the conventions, a Chiller Theater convention. And not only was I able to work out the rights to be able to use the Chiller Theater hand in a wraparound, it's supposed to be a movie within a movie sequence where this guy's watching some TV shows of old movies. But I ran into Angus Scrim, who played the tall man in Phantasm, and I struck up a great conversation with him. And he was actually very kind enough to do a voiceover for me in my second movie. And what was really cool is I ran into him, like, I figure like a year later, and I was like, there's no way he would know me. And he invited me to an ice cream social. So an ice cream social with the tall man.
I'm sorry, Glenn. That movie was just, skin crawls. Skin crawls. The Human Centipede 2 was even worse. It was just, I couldn't watch
that
it.
Movie.
I
would watch it just for the premise.
Oh, it was so bad. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, scary horrible. Like I couldn't deal with it.
Yeah. If you ever want to see a movie, and I literally tell you that the premise will turn your stomach, and is probably the most. I can't imagine. You know, it's like you shouldn't judge a book by its cover because I've been judged for stuff that I've created. But this, I can't imagine what this was going through the people's minds that created this movie. There's a movie out there called, and I just saw it, and it popped up today. It's being re-released, I think, in 4K. And I'm like, why? Called A Serbian Film. And if you ever want to be completely disturbed, not for a good reason, there's a movie to watch. This is a room clearer. You put this on there and you will have people leave your room. And it's that disgusting. There's a part where, and I had no idea. A friend of mine used to just find the most disgusting, disturbing things to put on just to see how long it would take to clear a room. I kid you not. There's
like
a scene
me after
there
a couple of the old Taco Bell dinners. Yeah.
Where a baby is born and they rape the baby.
What?
That's how disgusting this movie is.
What?
Damn.
So if you ever want to be disturbed and you want to get people out of your house real quick, there's a movie to throw on. I just, and it goes back to the thing. It's like, you know, the movies that I grew up with and some of the stuff that's put out today, I don't get it. It's not horror. It's just like, what is
Well,
that?
if you want to clear a house even faster than that, put in episodes 7, 8, and 9. I guarantee you'll clear up the house.
Yeah. We had somebody, Rich Aldo, put a Faces of Death. I watched that when I was in college.
God.
Now,
I think everybody did
tell
when they were
people,
younger. It's like, it was
if people don't know,
so you had to see.
Explain Faces of Death to people who don't know what that is.
Me or Glenn?
Whoever wants to talk about it.
Apparently, these are real clips of things dying. People committing suicide off a building, monkey getting his head bashed in and then eating the brains. It's just one. I don't know.
I remember
there are,
the guy with a
there's whole bunch of
parachute.
them.
Guy parachuted down into like a crocodile pit, and that didn't go too well for the guy.
Yeah, so I don't know how much of it was staged or it's absolutely real, but everybody tells me that it's legit and real.
That's what they say.
I don't know.
I think there was a documentary came out about there. From my understanding, of some of that stuff was special effects, but I've heard to the contrary that there was other competing titles out there where supposedly some of that was real or it was a mixture of stuff that was real. I'm still not quite clear on that, but again, it's the kind of
the Blair Witch Project was supposed to be real, but
yeah, it's like I don't want to watch that.
I mean, hey,
stuff, you know. There's a movie, Cannibal Holocaust, that's out there where they kill real animals in it, and it's like that's not the kind of stuff I want to watch. To me, that's not horror. You know, horror is like a roller coaster. Yeah, I want to be scared, but at the end of the day, it's like, I mean, that's the other thing too. Is like the movies. I keep saying back in the day, but you look at Friday the 13th. None of those kills look real. You look at the stuff today; it's really it's super grisly. I watched Terrifier 2.
There's two
if
things.
You haven't seen that.
There's two things people look for in horror. There's horror scare, horror gore. I personally kind of prefer the horror scare, maybe a little gore. But some of these now are just so gory, man. Like I'm watching American Horror Story, which is a TV show. A TV show. They're just cutting throats and pulling out intestines and like, what?
Wow.
Well, that's like the Chucky TV series, but that's done very reminiscent of the old style, like 80s slasher stuff. So I don't mind it, and the show's great. So that's fun. But when it gets like over the top stuff, it's like you know, it's not my bag.
I don't know.
I'm thinking about
I heard
this.
there was a horror movie in production. It's called The Kathleen Kennedy Story. I heard that was a horror movie in production.
Do they kill her at the end?
I don't know.
This is one time where the final girl doesn't need to escape.
Some movies,
a life story, you know.
Some movies are too scary to see, and I think anything with her name attached to it is just too scary for me.
Oh, it's gonna be a horror flick, and it's pure. It'll be right up there with The Exorcist and everything. It'll be awesome.
Have you guys seen the new Exorcist movie?
No. I have not.
It's already on video on
from
demand.
The first one. So.
Yeah, it's already on video on demand. They fast-tracked it less than a month because it bombed at the theater. I went in with low expectations. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but it was surprisingly watchable. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the original, and to me, nothing compares to the original. It felt, again, it's like another, I would say, generic exorcism movie, but it wasn't terrible. It was better than I thought. It's certainly watchable. Unlike the second follow-up, Exorcist 2 is just, and all of the the spin-offs. I do have a special place for Exorcist 3. I do like Exorcist 3, but it was surprisingly not bad. Unlike last night, I watched Five Nights at Freddy's.
How was that?
It's now on Peacock in the movies. Incredibly disappointing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My kids love the games.
Yeah. I won't spoil it, but my kind of short review is it felt watered down. All your kills basically happen off screen. I mean, I've seen harder PG-13s. This could have been a sci-fi. This could have been a TV movie. It's so watered down. And I'm not as huge into the lore on it, but I think the one thing that really they nailed the look of the animatronics. The sound design is great. The set design is great. There's one scene, without really spoiling anything, that really annoyed me, where it's all of a sudden like it's all the characters are basically playing. It's like, let's break into playtime with the animatronics. And the thing that stuck out in my mind, it's almost like the scene in Return of the Jedi, the Redux, where it's let's stop the movie for a musical number. And I'm like, this is supposed to be scary?
Wow. That's sad.
Yeah, it was really disappointing. I'm glad I didn't pay money to see it.
I want to know if you guys saw a movie called The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe. Have you seen that?
With his bad accent?
Yeah, with his bad accent. I didn't mind that movie. I didn't love it.
Yeah, it was all right. It was okay.
It was
but again,
okay.
it didn't do anything to reinvent the genre.
No, and apparently it's based on a real person.
That's what I heard.
Not real events, but like,
right.
A real individual at the Vatican doing exorcists at the not at the Vatican, but at the highest level. It's like, wow, okay, I'm not religious by any means, but I was watching it going, cool.
I thought it was interesting. Yeah.
Did you guys hear about this Donkey Me?
No.
What?
Apparently it's a mashup of Donkey Kong and The Exorcist. It's a free download. If you're into retro games, just check it out.
It's a game.
Oh my god.
It's a game, right?
Is it a game or a movie?
I'm gonna look it up. You guys keep talking, and I'm gonna take a look. I have not heard of this myself. Let me see. Let me see what I can find.
I'm looking it up too, just to see what this is all.
I know they've taken some of the Donkey Kong games and they've done like Halloween themed ones where they've gone and modded the games, but I'd be curious to see if this is a game or a movie.
No, it is a game. Let's see here. Let's see here, people.
Oh, it looks like it's a hack of Donkey Kong, basically.
And which one's this one called?
Donkey Me.
Oh, I don't think I've heard of that one.
By Bruno R. Marcos, by the looks of it.
Yeah, because I have played one of the Donkey Kong Halloween ones, but I don't think it was that name.
Interesting. Interesting. So, are you guys doing anything for Halloween? Are you decorating your house, Glenn? The other Glenn. You, Glenn, and the other Glenn.
Oh, it's Glenn does. I remember your setup last year. It was great.
He's always got something in the windows and whatnot, so...
This reminds me of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch music.
There we go.
Oh, look at this.
Glenn, it's not in his head. It's actually live.
Is that an alien?
I think this is a game we're going to have to check out.
I'm going to have to check that out.
Interesting.
Oh, look at that.
So,
Here you go, the alien scene.
That's awesome.
Interesting. Conan. Papa Brad said Conan.
Not a horror movie, but I love Conan. I actually just pre-ordered. They announced Arrow Video today a new 4K re-release coming in January for Conan and Conan the Destroyer.
Really?
Yep.
4K
You get them
version.
in 4K remastered version. Yep. And
Interesting.
I think Conan the Destroyer also has alternate versions on it. There's like 3 versions, either Conan or Conan Destroyer. I forget but there's multiple versions that come with a disc. But that's the kind of thing you're not going to get streaming.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Streaming has its place.
I just got, in fact, actually show off something that I got recently. Let me grab it. And this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Just got this recently from Arrow. This is a 4-disc collector set. It's all 4 of the theatrical Hellraiser movies with all new extras. One of them has a rare print that you can't see. You know, it's cobbled together for one of the versions. Really, really cool. It comes with a 100-page book. And then just got myself, for the first time, all 4 movies in one box set. All 4 of the Psycho movies, including the made-for-TV Showtime movie that's never been released before in 4K. So, yeah, that's the kind of stuff. And it loaded with extras. You know, I mean,
That's cool.
that's why you got to support physical media. You're not going to get that stuff on streaming.
No, you're not. You know, and that
Whenever
stuff
I-
does cost them money to do those things, which they'll
Absolutely.
save by not doing it on streaming.
Well, that's another incentive for them to go digital. I mean, I also just don't get, people that will watch a movie on an iPad or a phone. Movies are meant to be seen on a large screen, and that's why you got to support cinemas or watch it on your TV at least. You're doing an injustice, by its art form to not see it the way, and even like a lot of horror movies, they just don't have the same effect when you watch them at home and you're not seeing them with an audience on a big screen.
Did you guys see the Thing remake?
I didn't see it, no.
I did. Well, it's
only saw the
actually
original.
kind of a it was sort of a reboot prequel, actually, because it ends with
that's
that
what I
scene
heard.
where the Thing begins with the wolf.
It was with the Swedish, what do they call it, base, or Swedish base?
Yeah. Now they're talking about, it's been long in development, a remake of that again, which takes elements from the Carpenter movie, the original movie, and the novel, which apparently there was a lost version of the novel found that has all these extra chapters and all this other stuff. So they were going to take a culmination of all that and do a new movie. It's been, I think I read about that 2-3 years ago. It's been
It comes down to, again, come up with something new. Leave the classics as they are. Because what they're going to do, they're going to try and subvert your expectations, and they're going to change all the characters around and ruin it. Period.
Well, see, that's a great question now for the people in the audience. What's your favorite movie in the last 10 years, scariest movie you've seen that's not a remake or a sequel?
And it can't be a wedding video.
A wedding video? For people with mother-in-laws and stuff like that, or that's a horror movie right there. I don't even know if somebody made one. The mother-in-law. She shows up
You know
at
what?
Christmas.
They should. They should. Yo, Glenn, that's a great thing for you to do. The mother-in-law. Death from the family. Something like that.
I do agree with Hobby Hands that subsequent rewatches of the Thing prequel, the remake sort of prequel, get better with each viewing. The only thing I miss is when you compare that to the original. Is the original Carpenter movie, and even that was a remake, but the original Carpenter movie, so I shouldn't say remake, or the original, because it's not the original, was all practical effects, where it's all CGI in the more recent one. And I love practical effects.
Well, that's the thing, too. When you watch these, you already have this preconception of the movie you've already seen. And that's why prequels are very hard. Because the technology does get better, and it changes how the movie looks. You're used to this certain viewing of that film, and that distracts you. It could be better. The effects are probably better, but it's now a distraction.
Well, the problem is with prequels too is you pretty much usually know how it's going to end. I mean, case in point,
it's kind of like Rogue One. You know what they're after.
Yeah, you know how it's going to end.
You know, it's kind of like Solo. You just sleep better at night that you know how Han met Chewie. Hey, I'm going to bed tonight knowing a bit more information, you know.
And that's a problem.
I didn't need to know Lando has sex with that robot thing. Yeah. I didn't need to know that.
Well, that's the thing, they fill in the blanks for you. It's like, oh, okay.
That's all, yeah, well, that's you nailed it. Exactly. A lot of these modern movies tend to fill in the blanks and they over-explain everything. Now, I personally hate the Rob Zombie remakes of Halloween. And one thing that really bothers me about the first remake that he did is it demystifies Michael Myers. I don't need to know Michael Myers' backstory as a child.
Right.
The best part about Halloween is you really don't know anything about Michael Myers.
Right. I agree.
Evil, and it makes him scarier.
Takes the mystery out.
Right.
Exactly.
That's part of the horror. You have no idea what his motivation is. He's just coming slashing you down.
And that's what one of the things about Phantasm is over the course of the series, they would give you little nuggets to give you a little bit more of the mythology, but they
never explained
told you everything.
Yeah, they never really explained it. Yeah. But also, when you went to see Phantasm, most people saw that were stoned out of their mind anyway. So.
That was 70s or 80s?
Yeah, that was in the mid-70s.
That explains everything.
One of the coolest things I did was when I went out to a Hollywood premiere, I had one weekend I was out there. I'm like, I'm going to get everything in. So I went and visited all the locations I could in a weekend for both Halloween and Phantasm. So I got to go to all the shooting locations. That was a lot of fun. I traveled like an hour outside of LA just to go to the Phantasm gates. It's not even the cemetery, it's just the gates. The Morningside Cemetery.
That's funny. Rob Zombie should stick to making music. That's it.
Yeah. Yes. Love his music, hate his movies.
Made enough money, I guess, to be able to do that.
And the monsters?
Well, yeah, I was just going to ask you, what did you think about the monsters?
Train wreck.
Yep.
I remember watching that on a flight, and I was like, I just wanted to scream and jump out of my seat. I hated it so much.
Oh, Rich Aldo, the Reanimator, one of my favorites.
Oh, great movie. Great.
Oh, yeah. Just injects that green shit everywhere, and everything just comes alive.
And the scene with the head. And what he does with the head. I just remember seeing that. Rented it from my local video store. Used to watch horror movies at my grandmother's in the afternoon. My grandmother, she was in a wheelchair, rolls in, and that scene comes on the TV.
Oh,
and I thought my grandmother was going to have a heart attack.
You know what? We haven't talked
about
much about
earlier. That sucks.
Pinhead and Hellraiser. They deserve a mention.
Yeah.
Yes. Love the first two especially.
The first
and the remake. Remake is one of the few remakes, not the sequels, but the recent remake was actually really good.
I haven't seen it.
Wasn't that with the woman Pinhead?
Yes. Yep. Transgender woman to play. And the thing is, a lot of people Like, oh, it should have been Doug Bradley, Pinhead's... Well, you know, if you go back and you read the original story is based on Pinhead, not only was he not called Pinhead, it was called the Priest, but is described by Clive Barker as a very androgynous character. It's not any one sex. So I was okay with that. And I actually thought the story, I thought the character look, I thought it was really good. That's one of the few remakes I would love to see them do a sequel to. Unlike the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, I remember seeing... I'm sorry, Stephen, go ahead.
John. Oh, we just got a word in the chat that Richard Bold passed
Yeah,
away.
I just had it up. I just pulled that up.
Yeah, that sucks. And then they made a remake of Night Court, too, a continuation of Night Court.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet, but...
Well, I guess he won't be showing up in it.
Isn't it the girl from Big Bang Theory that's the judge?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And they had, jeez, I should know his name. From the original is in it. They brought back.
The attorney guy there, I forget his name too, but...
Who did the narration for the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The opening
really?
narration, yeah, it's his voice. That was one of his first gigs.
Didn't know
I'm
that.
blanking on his name. Yeah.
I'll get you that. Google's our friend. Let's see here.
I
John
agree,
Larroquette.
Jason.
John Larroquette.
Tommy did ruin Dr.
John Larroquette.
John, yes.
Dan Fielding.
Dan Fielding, John Larroquette, yep. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
he
best.
voiced the original. Yeah.
I
I
did
did
that
watch a
same
few
one.
episodes and it's not funny.
No?
It's
No.
like,
Again, they can't think of anything new, and they rehash the old thing. It was not just... It's the characters, and it was the writers of the time that made it funny. So...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Jason mentioned the last 20 years non-sequels. Trick or Treat, I did like that. The Strangers, I thought was great, and The Purge, I liked the Mist. I did like the movie The Mist. TV show was okay, but the Mist movie was better. And it's interesting you mentioned too, Jason, The Strangers. There's a new Strangers trilogy coming out. All three of them were shot back to back and done. My partner, Michael Gingold, that I work with and do work, he actually just interviewed, I think it's either Rumor or Fangoria, there's an article coming out about those. And they're in talks of distribution. I think what they're thinking about, it'll be sometime next year, but they're trying for a theatrical release and releasing them every 2 months apart between each of the three movies. But it's a continuing narrative over the course of 3 movies for the new Strangers and not connected to the originals. It's a complete reboot.
Interesting. And Stranger Things, speaking of Stranger, that's somewhat of a horror-ish film.
Yeah,
Or
but they
series, I
borrow...
should say.
They borrow...
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, they do, but I guess it's taking place in the 80s, alternate universe thing, so I get it. But it's not a bad series. I enjoy it.
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. It was. I consider that sort of that horror genre. You know what I mean? So I think it's. Yeah, the Glenn and Toxic Avenger. I gotta watch that again just to see how bad it really is.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, but I'm in it, so watch it.
You have the remake of that coming out too.
They do, and I have some high hopes
game.
for it. I have some high hopes for it because that, I mean, Trauma Productions was all about 35 cents and making the movie with that 35 cents. That's kind of what they were like at. But the stories weren't so bad. Oh, and they also try to make everything for a 3-year-old with horror in it, you know. So if you get a
Why
little
don't they
bit more
try
of
to
the
get you
story,
back for a cameo? Glenn?
well, yeah, I'd be down for it. I mean, you know
You're in
me.
the first one, right?
I was in the second and the third, part 2 and part 3.
Okay. Right.
But
get you back. So
this-
if anybody's
this
listening,
movie-
they can
Yeah,
ask-
'cause that's
It's
where
just-
they shot parts of those at Peekskill.
yes, they did. Pete Skill, and that's why I did my shots, was they did it there. But Rosemary's Baby is another one that gets kind of overlooked, and it's a messed up film, man.
I just bought the 4K of that. I love that movie.
So if you haven't seen Rosemary's Baby, you know, it's not a high action film. It's more of a mental screw with your head type of thing. But it's a good movie. It's a good movie.
What was the movie I saw recently? My son bugged us to watch it. It was about a guy that lived in the walls. It's not an old movie. It's like a
Uncle Fester?
puppet.
People
No,
under
it
the
was like
stairs?
it was like a puppet.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was
All right.
it
People under
was
the
actually a
stairs.
guy. No, but it was like a puppet, and then the guy was living in the walls and making the puppet do shit, and he lived in the walls. I forget what it's
I'm trying to
called.
think of what that would be. I'm
It
ringing a
was
bell
like
on
a
that one.
yeah, well, it was like a puppet that he'd leave on the bed, and then basically it would disappear. But it was just a guy living in the walls, and he'd be
Huh.
living there for years and years, and he'd murder people. I forget what it's called. I'll have to get the name next week or
Yeah, I
whatever.
can't.
But
That one's not ringing a bell. Good.
it was a strange movie. Let's just say that.
But it's
Well, that's
interesting
what I
you
do
mentioned
miss.
Rosemary's Baby. I was gonna say it's interesting when you mentioned Rosemary's Baby because you're not caught up with the most recent season of American Horror Story, right? You're still working your way there.
I'm on season 7, episode like 2, something like that.
Okay, because when you get to the most recent season, it's got a real Rosemary's Baby vibe to it.
Okay. Well,
I'm actually liking it.
is that from the baby born in the first season?
No, this
No.
This is no connection to previous
No connection.
seasons. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
is
it's
it?
called The
Steven,
Boy, by the way.
Is
Yeah,
it
it's called
this?
The Boy.
It lives inside?
No, it's called
Yeah,
The Boy.
Oh, the boy.
Well,
Yeah, it
the new
came
one
out-
they keep
Jesse
showing, like,
got
stickers
that.
in the credits and in the effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's called The Boy, if I'm not mistaken, and
Yeah.
it's the dude living in the. Anyways.
Well, Jesse agrees. Jesse 555
Boy?
says it's the boy.
It's The Boy. It's The Boy.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's not terrible. It's kind of weird, but
Huh.
it was an interesting one compared to. Hey, look, a few years later, and I still remember it. This is more than I could say about Indiana Jones. After 2 years, after what, 3 months of seeing Indiana Jones, I told my wife, did I see that? She's like, yeah, you saw Indiana Jones. And here I can remember this horror movie from how many years ago? 2016. It's like,
Although the most recent Indiana Jones was better than the previous one, the Crystal
I
Skull.
have to
That is
admit
a
it.
forgettable movie.
but
I
I still
have to
don't
admit
remember
it.
the previous one. I still don't remember the previous one. So
Crystal
it's
Skull
like,
I've seen once. That was enough.
best part of the whole movie is when he puts himself in the fridge and it gets launched. That's the only memorable part for me.
Can we go back and do that with Kathleen Cannon?
Yeah, launch her ass in the nuclear explosion.
But use a modern fridge. Use a new fridge.
Yeah. It won't last the impact. Yeah, it was called The Boy.
Malignant,
That's
yeah.
exactly what it was. The Boy. Yeah.
Yeah, Malignant has another one. Yeah, there's a number one. I was thinking of People Under the Stairs was another one that kind of has that, the running around behind.
There's a-
behind the
again-
If you like horror movies, watch The Boy. It's pretty cool.
Another good horror film that's going to just, at least me, cringed was Don't Be Afraid of the Dark.
That's the one I mentioned before.
Yeah,
I
that-
have an autographed bootleg DVD.
That
And the
film I
remake
saw,
was good too.
I was probably 6 or 7 when I saw that. It messed me
Scared the crap out
up.
of
It messed me up for a while.
Scared the
It
crap.
made me afraid of the
I
dark.
would not go near the fireplace in our living room for a
Or
long time.
any
after
vent.
that.
Any vent
Yeah.
in a house.
Yeah.
Stayed away from it.
And
You
the
remember-
Guillermo del Toro remake is actually really good. I actually just watched that with my dad, who'd never seen that, saw it recently, and it's pretty good. It's one of the few remakes that I enjoy.
What was the movie, Glenn, that I had Googled last week about a ship and there were skeletons on the ship? I think it was called like Death Ship or something like that.
Isn't it like a ghost ship or
I
something?
was thinking
Yeah,
Ghost
it was like a ghost ship, and then there was like in the where they put when they fish for crab, they put it in a big vat. Well, there was a bunch of skeletons in there, and the guys yelling and screaming to crawl out of there. I saw that when I was a kid. I didn't sleep for days.
What are some other
Jeez.
movies that affected you when you were young, and what scenes?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that was one. I think it's called Death Ship, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, I think that's what it was. The other one was The Exorcist. When I was a kid, I guess it played on TV for some
I
reason.
think that messed everybody up.
And the part that freaked me out as a kid, and she's doing this whole funky chicken on the bed, and then it just stops, and she starts hissing at the screen with the eyeballs all turned into her head and stuff there. I was like, oh my God. And then when she was crawling backwards up the stairs,
Yep.
all that stuff, that held me when I was a kid. Beyond that, I didn't get scared much, but when I saw that, I was like, what the hell am I watching? I think I was like 9, 10 years old when that came out. I think it was called Death Ship, that other one.
Look that up now. What about you, Glenn?
For me, my first film, I was 7.5, Jaws.
Oh, yeah.
And then my next film, I was 10, Alien. Those two did a number on me. They did.
Jaws with the head scene. And by the way, you are right. It is Death Ship. I just
Yeah, that's Death Ship. I look at the
Yeah.
trailer, and at 43
Yep.
seconds, that's the scene that burnt into my head. Still, I'm going to be 53 next month, and it's still burnt into my damn head.
But yeah, I agree. Jaws, the floating head scene, and actually Jaws 2 in the beginning where the burnt body flips out. That freaked me out as a kid seeing that.
Oh, yeah.
And
Like,
and for me, the early ones, I would have to say Friday the 13th, the Kevin Bacon scene, where the hand comes up and the you get the puncture through the back of the neck that comes up from under the bed. And then oddly, of all the scenes, Halloween was probably one of the first ones to scare me. The scene that, for whatever reason, just really creeped me out was the scene where they walk in and Judith Meyer's headstone is in the bed. There's something about that scene that just really creeped me out. And then another one, the trailer, the commercial trailer for the Boogans freaked me out for some reason.
Really?
And it's such a garbage movie, but I don't know why that affected me.
well, is it the Friday the 13th where they open the fridge and then there's the severed head in the fridge?
Yeah, the mother's head.
That's in the beginning of part
Mother's
2.
the beginning
Mother's
of part
head.
2. That one
Yeah.
there, it didn't affect me, but I was like, holy shit, there's a head in the fridge.
Yeah.
It was like that whole thing. I didn't think Jaws was a horror movie much. I was like laughing at that one much.
Oh, no.
What
No.
was the other one? Evil Dead.
I
Evil
will
Dead
go
I
to
liked
the
a lot.
Evil
I
Dead.
liked Evil Dead a lot. For
Those never really spooked me
No.
out, though. A lot of
No.
people I know
No.
affected it for
it
some
didn't.
reason.
No, it didn't
you know,
spook me out, but it was a good horror movie in a
Yeah.
sense where
Yep.
you were
the
entertained.
first one, that
and-
atmosphere.
Oh yeah. It was the camera was shaking all over the damn place, and it was cheap, but it was well done.
But
Wasn't
that's
it
another
the guy who did Spider-Man who did that movie?
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi. Yeah, he did Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
It's it had that Evil Dead vibe to it too. If you watch it, you're like, yeah, it has Evil Dead written all over it.
But that's another series though, where if you look at Evil Dead 2, it became about camp. Where
Oh,
the
yeah.
first one,
Right.
not the first one didn't have camp in it, but it was a little more darker and serious in tone. Like Nightmare on Elm Street, the same thing, but then the sequels, they became more campier and, became about the jokes and the gore. But that's
Yeah.
also a thing I think, like Chucky had a great spin-off TV show. Ash vs. Evil Dead was fantastic.
Oh, Glenn, by the
Yeah.
way, we're at 9:00. Do you have to pass along to the other
Oh,
side? Or
yes.
You're good.
Want something scarier? Is look at Peter's
Steven.
over at the Zoom Game Reviews on their Friday Halloween
I
special.
had to cut us off, but I was looking at the clock going, oh.
Oh, real
Halloween,
quick,
though.
Final Destination was another
Yeah.
good scary film. So I want you
Best
all.
part was when the tree went through the windshield and from the truck.
Love that.
Yep.
Yep.
The log. I thought that was the best special effects out there, because you know what? It's happened up here in the north where I live. It's actually happened. That exact scene actually happened. So it's kind of.
And by the way, last note on that too, another movie that they are yet again rebooting.
Final Destination, really?
Oh,
I think it might already be shot.
Yeah.
well, with that being said, we're at 9 o'clock. I want to thank Glenn Daisley for joining us today on our Halloween special.
Come
Steven,
back anytime.
please take off the mask. You're scaring the hell out of me, Steven.
I'll do like Jim Carrey. Just grab the skin and.
So everyone
I
listening,
couldn't stand to put that other mask on.
have a good Halloween this Tuesday. We're going to have a guest on again next week. We're just getting back to the guest for a little while here. But we want to thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully, I'll eat something, a little flashback. I'll come back next week in the hole.
You
Listen,
looked a little parched.
I do. But once again, we really thank you all in the chat. You guys make the show. We appreciate it. And with that, live on. Stay alive. Enjoy breathing. And good night.
Good night.
Happy Halloween.
Game on. Sit, Blue, sit. Good dog.